Hello and welcome to my first attempt at a live stream here on YouTube. My name's Penny Potter and this is Crantock Art that we're working from, and along with me is my glamorous assistant Emma, who is going to hopefully answer all the questions if we get any, if there's anybody out there. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a go at making this squirrel. Okay. Now, obviously, this one's finished and has been glazed, and we'll talk about glazing possibly at the end, if I remember, or any questions. But obviously, we're going to just do the making part of this, not the glazing. Now, I have got a template that goes with this, but if you probably work it out for yourself. The squirrels are actually made from a number of different strips of clay, all the same width. They are about, let's see, about 35 millimeters, or if you're American, it's about 1.5 inches across. And the lengths will vary depending upon how you want to build it. In order to put this together, I've also done a template which actually shows you where all the pieces go. So again, if you're working without my template, you'll have to figure this one out, but I'll try and explain as I go along what I'm doing. So the first piece I'm going to use is I'm going to make the back leg. So I've got a strip here that I've cut. So say from the template, I've got a piece here, so that's about that length. And I'm going to build this flat. So I'm going to curl it, following the template, and make a coil, make a little spiral of this clay, which will fit, hopefully, onto that template. Let's bring it around a bit. You want the tail end here to be sort of at the bottom, because it's going to attach to the back arch, and then we coil the rest of it up like that. The bottom part, as you can see on my finished squirrel, that bottom coil actually sits on the base. So that's the first one like that. Hopefully you can see that okay. Then I'm going to do the shoulder part. So again, I've cut a strip. It's long enough to do this, and again I'm going to coil it up into a spiral, and then let's just take a slight alteration with the camera so you can see a bit better. Okay, so you see we've got this shoulder piece here, so we're going to coil that up. Now it's important to make sure when you're putting it together like that the coil, I'll just take this off the template a minute so you can see. So the end of that coil is on the top of that piece there. And this is structurally quite important. If you don't do that, it's likely to slump. So when we put this on, end of that there is going to go against there. Like that. Let's get that together. So the two pieces look like that. Then we're going to put the back on. So again, I've got another strip. And this is a continuation of this piece. Now, you might argue, well, I could have actually done this by making it one long strip, but it wouldn't fit on a piece of paper, so I didn't. So what I'm going to do, though, is going to join these together. So I am actually going to score all the way up that piece there with my knife. I have some slip over here. I'm going to paint a bit of slip on there, the end, and then attach that to there. You might think, well, that's not a very strong join. You're quite right, it's not, but by the time we got it all together, it will be. And that then comes up and round, all like that, so you get a nice curve of the back. And now at this point, I'm going to start to join some of these pieces together. So again, making sure that's coiled around nice and tidy, and that's there. And the first bit I'm going to join, let's get that down there. Just making sure that's resting on there, is I'm going to join this piece here, so this little junction here. Now, because this is sort of a very stylish, modern type of sculpture, it's important to try and get everything as smooth and tidy as possible. So I'm going to roll a coil, quite a small one. I have to apologise for our dog. Okay, I'm just going to measure it, make sure that it's the same width. I'm trying to get that coil the same thickness all the way up. That will make it look better. Paint some slip on it. put it in place there. And then I'm going to use my favourite tool, a lollipop stick. This is one that I've sharpened to a point at one end and that I can use to smooth it in, holding it all together. Like that. And again, as I say, because it's a sort of a modern sculpture, it's important at this point to try and get as smooth and tidy as possible. So use your finger to smooth it. Use any other smoothing tools you might have. Get it nice and tidy. Now, at the moment, it's only going to be tidy really on the top side, and we'll sort that out when we turn it upside down. Like that. Then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to deal with this join here. I want this join to actually really touch, so I'm going to make that a little bit bigger there, because I want it to touch that bit there. So I'm also going to put a little bit of slip in there. That. So you can press that against there. That. And again, I'm going to put a little coil in there. This is actually going to be covered by the tail, but it will help. So again, cut a piece to size. A bit of slip on it. Put it in place. Like that. Again, get my favourite tool to hand. It looks like I've got a bit of a flicker going on the camera. I do apologise. That's all to do with our fluorescent lights overhead. I'll try and fix that for the next video. I did think about turning the lights off, but if I'd done that, you wouldn't see anything. Like that. Okay. Next, then, the tail. So the tail is going to cover up that joint, so it doesn't matter that it's a little bit rough. And again, following the guide, it starts at the bottom, comes up, and then curls around. So what I'm actually going to do is, using my knife, I'm going to score all the way up the back. And I'm putting my hand on the top of it to keep it steady. I don't want to distort it while I'm doing this. Nice chunk of slip on it. Like that. And then put that tail in place. And line up, coil it around. That. Now, mine's probably a little bit long. If you wanted to, you cut it off a bit shorter, but I'm going to coil mine right round like that. So again, I'm going to put a bit of slip on where it's going to join. Like that. Okay. So we've got a basic form. Now, of course, if I try to stand this up at the moment, it will collapse. So I'm just going to let this dry a little bit. I have come prepared with a hairdryer if necessary. And while that's sitting on the paper there, I'm going to go on to the next bit, which is to make the head. So the head, and if I bring the finished one again, you can see this sculpture is designed to be looked at side on. If you look at it end on, you can see that you've got this sort of V here. Front on's not too bad, but he is really designed to be looked at side on. And like a lot of sculptures, it's best to pick your best side. So the head is a sort of this teardrop type shape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some slip along there. Just down to there. Put that on. Like that. So we've got that sort of V shape. Now I'm going to smooth that in a little bit. And I think I'm going to be able to get away with that, but if you don't feel so confident, you might want to put a little coil down the inside of there. And then we have our basic head. I've given him a bit more of a turned up nose by accident, but you know, it's all original. Then I'm going to do the ears. And they're just strips of clay that are then folded in half like that. Okay, on both sides. And they attach either side of the head. So the head's that way up. So
doggy playtime.
It's doggy playtime. So I can put them on like that. And then what I'm going to do is on the ends here, I'm going to smooth them down into the head. Make them nice and secure. Again, you might want to add a coil. Emma, could you put the dogs outside, please? That's one ear. And then we do the other one, making sure that we get it more or less opposite. So again, I'm just going to dip it in the slip, get it a bit wet, and then I'm going to put it like that. Again, try and make sure that the ears are both pointing in the same direction. And then smooth that down onto there. There's two ears. Again, I'm just going to look at it side on and make sure everything's good. From the back, yeah, I'm happy with that. Now, the hands are sort of that sort of shape, so that when we actually, again, fold it, we have two end pieces which will attach to the body there, and a piece in the middle. Again, I'm not going to put that on until I'm ready to lift it up. So let's see if it will lift. So if I bring it up like that, you see it's a little bit soft. And the key point here is now I need to get a coil in behind the tail. So let's get a little bit of clay. Let's do that. That point there where the tail meets the body is quite a stress point, because you're asking the clay, which was fixed nicely there, to suddenly hang out. And clay doesn't like doing that, as I say to a lot of people. Clay does not like to be horizontal. So let's, again, I'm going to measure that up there. So you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to get some slip in there. Doesn't need to be a very big coil, but it will need to help to reinforce that joint. Tuck it in there. Again, get my favourite tool. Use the pointed end in this case. I want to try and get it even, smoothed in, strengthen up that joint. Hopefully when we bring it up right, the tail will stay attached. Okay. Right, let's try again. Stand it up, see what it's like. Yeah, it's still a bit floppy here. So what I'm going to do now, I haven't joined it at the top, that doesn't help. Come back and do that. Right, so it needs to be a nice arched back. It needs to be joined here at the top. Obviously I haven't done that yet, so let's do that. And so the whole thing is designed so that the stress is on the clay, work in the favour of keeping the sculpture together. Let's just bring that there. Again, another little coil, I think, in front of that. Again, this is going to be mainly covered by the head, but just a second, sorry. Yep, let's go in there again. Put it in. And in there. Like that. Right. So before I can stand it upright, I'm going to need to strengthen it up a bit. And the way I'm going to do that is with a hairdryer. So here's one I prepared earlier. So let's just give a little blast. This is quite a powerful hairdryer. Right, so as you see, I've just flipped it over so that I can now work on tidying up the other side. A bit of a crack forming there, which is annoying. So we can coax that round. Right, you stand up. Let's have a go. More or less. A little bit floppy at the front there, so just a little bit more firming up required at that point. sort of that's the load bearing part. So that's the part that's going to take most of the stress. Okay. So the next thing to do now is I'm going to put it onto its base. So I've cut the base out of very thick clay. It's about a centimetre thick, or if you're American, it is just well, about ½ inch. Okay. So I'm going to fix him onto there. And this is where you decide whether he's going to, which way around he's going to go. I think on this occasion he's going to go there. So we score the bottom and tuck that in.
And the way we get the clay that thick is using the guide sticks.
It is. Yes, we have sticks here that are 5 millimeters one way and 1 centimeter the other. So I just lay that one on the side like that, and I can get a 1 centimeter. Or you can use square ones. Thank you, Emma. I'll take it back for now. Yeah. Thank you. Right. So let's mount my squirrel in the nicest possible way onto its base. At this point, as I say, look for stress points and see where you need to reinforce it a little bit. And then you see it's breaking apart a little bit at the tail, so here we're going to fix it up a bit. So I just want to come right a tiny bit if you can. It'll let me. A little bit more. Let's get that bit shot now. So I'm just going to smooth that in. Like that again. You see it's wobbling around a little bit. I might have to hair dry him a bit more before we're done. Let's see. Then we take our head. And with this particular squirrel, he's sort of looking up. You can't really see that from that angle. But this is where we decide how much we want him looking up. Right up or looking down, or how we want him. I do quite like having him sort of staring a little bit skyward. I think that's quite neat. Okay, like that. So having decided where the head's going to go, making sure it's slightly apart. Again, I'm going to score underneath it. Oh, my camera focus. Thank you. This up on it. Okay, and then position it. And at this point, we're going to do a good old wiggle trick. So you move it around, around till it stops moving. Make sure it's on. That. Then I'm going to get a little bit of clay. I might actually put this up on. Can you pass me a banding wheel? We'll get it a little bit higher and people can see it better. Cool. Right. Now that we've got him upright, let's get him upright. There we go. So, just onto the camera a little bit again. A better view. Okay. Right, so in the back here now, I've got 2 little bits of clay, which I'm going to tuck right into the joint there. Like that. And then again, get my favourite tool. That one. I'm going to reinforce and hold him at the front, so I got him nice and steady, so I'm not going to squash him. So I'm actually holding the clay as I push down, otherwise the whole thing's going to just go flat. So I get in there, work that into the joint there, make sure I get right in there, and then smooth it in. Making sure any surplus clay, this is getting a little dry so, as the hair drying, so I'm just going to dip my end of my little tool into the slip just to wet it a little bit, make it a bit easier to smooth it out. Because again, the more smoothing you can do with this, the better it will look. Okay, so he has his head on. There we go. Now I'm just going to go again around the side. Now I could leave it with it just so there's a little gap visible. That would be quite sweet. It would be quite modernistic, if you like. I'm just going to tidy that a little bit there. Turn around, do the same on the other side. You see we've got a little gap here. So I'm just going to get in there Move the camera back a little bit, so better, maybe. Might actually focus. It's struggling this close, I think. Okay, there we go. Get in there. Right. Look at him straight on. Get his ears straight. Okay. Yes, that's better. Looks a bit like a deer from that angle. There we go. Let's open myself a bit. There we go. Next, his feet, his paws rather. So these are the paws I folded earlier. And these are going to go, hopefully not go on the floor. They are going to go there. Now again, you could have him sort of with his paws quite low or a little bit high, like he's begging. You could even, if you wanted to, put a little acorn in the gap there or something like that. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep it simple. So I'm going to put some slip on here. Put them in position. I think I like the idea of him begging a little bit, so I'm going to have them up like that. Again, support the clay, so don't be careful not to push it about too much. So I've got my hand there so that any pressure I'm putting on it is counteracted by my hand. Like that. And then to make sure that stays put, again, we're going to add a little bit more clay. It's again, tiny little coil. I don't want it to be too big, too bulky and making things ugly. I just want to tuck it in there and cut that off to size because it's a little long, so just mark it. And then cut it. Okay. Okay.
There's potential for doing quite a few animals in this way.
Well, this is it. And you know, I was I tend to get my ideas, a lot of my ideas, when I'm in bed. To wake up in the morning and go, oh, we could do a so-and-so, which is where this one came from. And the other morning I was lying there thinking, we could do a hare, we could do a cat. And I came in and I told our team here, which is made up of my wife, Emma, here, and my daughter, to which my daughter replied, Mum, you need to get some stronger sleeping tablets. So, okay, so do the same on the other side. So again, I'm attaching it onto there. But yes, if there's any animals you'd like to see me have a go at, I'm always up for suggestions. Someone suggested a frog. I did have a frog. But a lot simpler than this. Okay. Right, now set up a little bit. So now it comes down to just finishing. I've got everything there. Oh no, I beg your pardon. We haven't got his back feet done yet. So we have a little piece of clay here, which I'm going to tuck in here at the front. Not got him on very square on the base, but never mind. So I'm going to score the back of this. Like that. Add some clay to it. Nice bit of slip. And I tuck it in. Just bring him up a little bit. Tuck it in there. There we go. Makes his back feet. Press that down. And then it comes down to just smoothing and tidying. So again, the best way to smooth it, if you can, is with your hands. But if your hands are dirty and got clay on them like mine have, you're not going to get anywhere. So I've just dipped them in the water in the slip and give them a wipe off just to get them a little bit smoother. The rubber-ended tools that you can get sometimes, the painters and sculpting tools are quite good as well for little areas you can't get into. Let's just smooth that off. That you can sit straight there. And of course, you can always use a rib to smooth things down. As I say, because it's sort of modern art type thing, if you can get it smooth, it will look better, unless you're going to go for a glaze that's a bit more rustic in its construction. I'm just smoothing down the outside. As I say, it's designed to be looked at from the side, so if nothing else, try and get your sides tidy like that. His face isn't very tidy, so I'm going to tidy that up. Again, another thing you can do is, you know, if it comes out of firing and then you see all the bits you missed, which is usually what happens to me, you can, of course, always sand it down a bit to get it smooth. So, But there he is in his basic form. Now, the last thing I would do with this is put my name on it, because we have a lot of students come through here. And, a little bit. Be careful not to add too much water to it. You're relying a lot upon the strength of this clay. And you can see that most of the stress goes down the front here. That's why I said you had to have the end of that resting on the top of that. So that part there is what's holding it together, basically. Okay, so there he is. Now, where I glazed mine, believe it or not, and this is a lovely example of shrinkage, because these two, if I stand them side by side, just move him over a little bit and put the other one in front of it, you can sort of see there's quite a difference in size, even though they were made with exactly the same template. But my finished one, I actually glazed in Amico Palladium, because I wanted that sort of really sort of modern type finish. The base I did with manganese dioxide oxide. But during the glazing, something rather strange happened. I did the base first, then I glazed the squirrel himself, and in doing so, I managed to spray a little bit of the palladium onto the base. I didn't mean to, completely accidental, but it actually works really well. You probably can't pick that up in the camera, but it's got like a little black metallic speckle on the base, which is fabulous. So there you are, there's the build. The template is not on Etsy just yet, but it will be by the end of the day, those who want to have a go at it. And well, thank you. I think I've successfully got through my first live stream, and thank you very much for those who joined us. Catch you again soon. Bye.